Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. Um, First, I had an earlier video earlier this week talking about Soto. The fact that Soto went to the Yankees. I was like, all right, fine. It's a 1 year rental with the Yankees. I'm hoping he likes New York to the point where maybe the Mets can make a play for him. In the 2025 season when he becomes a free agent. But that I was hoping with that you getting that, but also hoping for the big free agent this year, basically, which I thought maybe the Mets could swoop in as a team that was under the radar. I mean, even though they said like, yeah, we're not going to go for anyone, but in reality, they were making a play. But in reality, it turns out that ain't happening. Why? Because well, as you see here, our boy signed with the Dodgers for $700 million for 10 years, $70 million a year. I mean, I everyone thought he was going to the Giants or Blue Jays for that matter. I mean, the fact that the Blue Jays came into the running was a surprise. Similarly to the Cubs. I mean, I knew the Cubs were never going to get him. It was going to be interesting to see. Um, the one thing though was I figured it was going to be on the West Coast at least. The Giants, Dodgers, or Angels re-signing with the Angels because like you have Mike Trout, but he wants to be the highest paid player ever, and rightfully so. Basically, I mean the man is what he's done so far with the Angels. I mean it's unprecedented. Put it that way, and he still stays in the same fan base and not that far from Japan. So the Dodgers get the marketing dollars from Japanese sponsors and such. Angels, if they ponied up, they could have probably gotten a lot more for him. Basically, honestly, if I were the Angel, I mean, I knew they went all in earlier this year, but in reality is now they got nothing to show for it for the Angels. I hate to say it, they got nothing to show for it. I was fortunate to have actually gone to an Angels game and watch Ohtani play. And honestly, I didn't even know he was pitching that day. Quite honestly, I had no idea he was pitching, but he was pitching that day. And the Angels actually ended up winning that game, um, even with Mike Trout was out that season. And I was fortunate to witness it. I was wondering, is like I didn't realize what was going on until I started seeing people with a lot of Otani shirts and I hate to say it, but more Japanese fans out there. I'm like, what's going on? And then I realized Otani's pitching. I'm like, I lucked out in getting these tickets because at the time it was like pretty cheap, and I'm like, it was my brother-in-law was coming into town, and boom, whatever. But in any case, um, and I thought maybe if anything, he'd go with the Mets. Like I said, I thought Cohen definitely could have made this offer as well too. He could have offered $700 million, but the fact that he opted out of it, um, it it's disappointing to say the least. Um, Dodgers have now Otani as well as Mookie Betts, Curtin Clayshaw. Um, Clayshaw probably has maybe 1 or 2 more years left in him, I think. Otani probably comes in. Well, for 2024, Otani is definitely going to be the most expensive DH player there is. So you're really paying for DH more than anything else. You're not even paying for as a positional player until 2025, 2026 comes along where he can actually start pitching and hope if he regains his form from what he was when he came first started with the Angels, it'd be impressive to see. But I was really hoping the Mets could have signed him, but it looks like that's not happening. My only hope and prayer now is that Otani becomes a big bust, but we know full well that's not going to be the case. I mean, honestly, the thing is this guy right here alone, basically, even if you get 5 good years out of him, it's worth it. It's worth it for the Dodgers. I mean, honestly, you get 5 good years from him, and he gets you a couple World Series rings. It's worth it at that point, honestly. And then the remaining 5 years, you're like, all right, it's like you got to pay him $70 million. I'm like, well, honestly, maybe you could just do whatever you want, but you could probably defer his contract to much more longer years, but or buy him out for that matter. I don't know if his skills decline, but I am not a happy camper, put it that way. I know Toronto Blue Jays fans and San Francisco Giant fans are like really pissed off. Angels fans are probably like, oh, specifically Anaheim. You know what? I'll say this. They call them the Los Angeles Angels. They should have just kept it with the Anaheim Angels, honestly, because the fact is like it's still about 40 minutes away from Los Angeles. I don't know how they're being called the Los Angeles Angels when it should be called the Anaheim Angels, or at least the California Angels. They should be called the California Angels at least. Go back to what they were in the past. Um, I mean, yeah, you could say the same thing about the New York Jets and New York Giants. Basically, it's like, hey, like they're playing in New Jersey, but they're only like 10 minutes away from the city itself. Basically, this one they're not that 10 minutes away from Los Angeles. I mean, yeah, they're about 20 minutes away from LA County. So I guess you could call them that. I guess I don't know, unless they decide to move. But in any case, uh, this is going to be an interesting year for the Mets. Basically, I put it that way. I mean, if we don't get Yamamoto as a Mets fan, I don't know what you do. I honestly don't know what you do here, because if we don't get Yamamoto, and I honestly, I don't think Alonso's worth this kind of money. He's definitely not worth $500 million. Maybe at most $100 to $200 at most. That's even stealing it. Honestly, he's not worth that much. Alonso, look how old he is. Honestly, if I'm the Mets, trade him off, and get some prospects out of him if you can, and maybe some superstars. But honestly, I don't think Alonso's worth this kind of money. Lindor definitely is. I think he'll come back and produce next year. I mean, he's probably going to work it off and work it off. Nemo, I think, is worth $100 million for the number of years that he's been bought for. But in any case, I don't know. This is sending. This is going to send shockwaves throughout the rest of Major League Baseball, because the fact is now Ohtani has broken the $500 million mark. Put it that way. We knew he was going to be $500 million, but the fact that it's $700 million for 10 years, meaning he's the first $70 million man, it's surprising. Now, for a year, it's only a matter of time before someone we see worth $100 million per year. Who will be that first player to get $100 million a year? That's going to be the interesting thing to see, because like baseball doesn't have a salary cap like football, like basketball, and like hockey. The owners are probably going to plead with a salary cap, because with the salary cap, players won't be able to have whatever it is. But honestly, we might see football players and basketball players like, hey, no, whoa, let's remove the cap, because if these baseball players can do this, kind of get this kind of money. But let's not forget, football players, 16 games to 17 games out of the year. Basketball players, 82 games out of the year, whereas baseball players, 162 games out on the outdoors, playing in hot or cold weather, depending, rain as well too, every now and then. Football players, of course, you have the same exact thing, where hockey players and hockey players, honestly, I don't know if they're worth that much, but they should, because of the way, like you're getting checked and everything, like more bodily injuries, almost close to football, but a little bit like soccer as well too. But in any case, this is a case where it's changing the dynamics of pro sports. The fact that he's now worth $70 million a year for 10 years is mass impressive compared to what the Giants did with Daniel Jones, $40 million for a year, which makes no sense. This man definitely is worth that kind of money, especially the fact is, like, if he brings 5 really good years to the Dodgers, and he gives them 3 more, let's say he brings them 2 to 3 more World Series rings, 2 rings at least. If he brings them 2 World Series rings, the Dodgers, he's pretty much paid for himself at that point, honestly, because the Dodgers will not only get the advertising dollars in place, but also, honestly, like the man brings in advertising dollars on himself alone, basically. If the Dodgers can capitalize on that, that'd be impressive. But with that, I'll leave it at that. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. What do you guys think? I mean, honestly, with the signing of Ohtani for a $700 million contract for 10 years. Of course, there's no opt-out clause, so like it's one of those things where this is pretty much it. So Ohtani has to stay with this team. If he had the opt-out clause like other players have, then he probably was like, you know what, I don't think I want to stay here. I want to opt out to free agency and see who else I can sign out with. But it is what it is. I don't know. Yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I do read my comments. I do respond to them for these long form videos. with that, I'll leave it at that. If you like my video, please subscribe if you like my videos, like my content, and also with that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, and of course, always unrehearsed. Until next time.